There's a kind of stillness that settles over a house just after midnight. It's not just the absence of noise. It's something thicker, heavier, like the walls are holding their breath. That's when I would hear her move. It started about 2 months ago. I'd be in bed, lights out, eyes closed. And just as the hours turned quiet, I'd hear her, soft footfalls on the hardwood floor, careful not to creak the boards near the hallway vent. I don't think she knew I'd memorized every sound this house made. At first, I told myself she was just getting water, or maybe she couldn't sleep. Stress, work, hormones, whatever. We'd been married 8 years. You learn not to jump at every flicker. But then it happened again, and again, same time, same rhythm. She never turned on the hallway light, never flushed the bathroom, never came back smelling like toothpaste or lotion. Just disappeared for a while, then returned like a shadow and slipped under the covers next to me. I didn't say anything. I didn't move. I just breathed steady, shallow, like someone auditioning for sleep. That was the beginning of it. I kept track for 12 nights. I marked each one in the Notes app on my phone like it was data in some quiet experiment I didn't want to believe I was conducting. Always between 12:30 and 1:15 a.m. Always gone for roughly 28 to 35 minutes. Long enough to walk somewhere. Long enough to meet someone. Long enough to lie to me. The last night I confronted her, well, before I stopped confronting her altogether, was a Tuesday. I'd asked if everything was okay. She blinked a little too slowly before nodding. Of course, she said, pulling her hair into that messy bun she wore when she didn't want to be touched. Just tired. She hadn't said, "We were tired" in a long time. That was also the night she started sleeping with her phone under her pillow. I didn't need a fight. I didn't need drama. What I needed was clarity. So I waited. I pretended to snore once, just to see if she would pause. She did. Her hand froze mid-reach for the doorknob. Then she slipped out like a whisper. Quiet. Practiced. Almost too smooth, like she'd done this before. That's when I got up. I already had shoes by the bedroom window, hoodie folded on the armchair, keys in my pocket. I waited 90 seconds. Then I followed her. The air outside was damp with the kind of September chill that makes your breath visible. Our neighborhood was dark, save for the occasional porch light or flickering street lamp. She was ahead of me, walking with her hood up, shoulders slightly hunched, not from the cold, but from intent. She wasn't wandering. She had a destination. I kept my distance. 2 houses behind. Crossed when she crossed. Paused when she paused. She didn't check behind her. She never had to before. She took a left at the end of Willow and kept going past the old bakery, past the florist shop that closed in July. I knew where we were heading before she did. There was only one thing on that block that stayed open that late. Apartment 4C. I'd seen the texts. Not read them, not really. Just flashes on her screen when she forgot to turn off previews. A name I didn't recognize. Tyler. You up? Just finished dinner. Thinking of you. Sneak away tonight? Tyler. That's what broke me. Not the name. The tone. Playful. Intimate. Like they had their own language. Like there was a version of her that I didn't get to see anymore. She buzzed herself in with a code. Didn't knock. Just walked straight in like it was hers. I didn't follow her inside. I didn't need to. I stood across the street, behind the brick column of a dry cleaner's awning. I waited 15 minutes. Then took out my phone. Click. The building. Click. Her entering the lobby. Click. The timestamp. The location. The evidence. I didn't even feel sad in that moment. I felt suspended. Like I was watching it happen to someone else. A man I once was. A man who didn't think twice when she said she loved him. I walked home slower than I had come. Every step felt heavier, not because of grief, but because I already knew what I was going to do next. I didn't confront her. I didn't ask questions. I just opened my laptop, searched for the cheapest one-way flight out of the state, and booked it. Morning flight. No luggage. Just a carry-on. Passport. Documents. The photos backed up to a hidden folder in the cloud. My journal. And a hotel room already waiting on the other end. She came home at 1:47 a.m. I was back in bed, back in position, eyes closed, breathing like the man she thought was asleep. She curled in next to me. Cold. Distant. Familiar. And I let her believe it. Because some betrayals don't need words. Just a door that closes behind you for the last time. The thing about leaving isn't the act itself, it's the stillness that follows. I boarded that flight before sunrise. No text. No note. Not even a missed call to leave behind. Just the sound of a front door clicking shut behind me and a shadow where my suitcase used to be. I didn't even make coffee. I didn't want her to smell anything. I wanted her to wake up and feel nothing at first. Just emptiness. Let her sit in that silence. The airport was half asleep when I got there. I sat by the gate with a hoodie pulled low, backpack wedged between my feet. The sun hadn't cracked the horizon yet, but I could already feel the weight lifting, hour by hour. I watched the screen flicker to my flight number. Gate change, delay, didn't matter. I had time now. Time to think. Time to breathe without the walls listening. I don't remember the takeoff. I don't remember the flight attendants, or the coffee, or the man sitting next to me with his elbows too wide. I remember staring at the window, watching clouds slide beneath us like a slow procession, and thinking, this is what freedom feels like. But freedom's a funny thing when you don't know what to do with it. I landed in Denver. Not for any particular reason, just far enough. Different enough. Mountain air instead of ocean breeze. She hated cold places, said the chill got into her bones, and never left. That made Denver feel perfect. I checked into a small hotel near Capitol Hill. Nothing fancy. Just clean, quiet, and anonymous. That's what I needed most, anonymity. To not be someone's husband. To not be the man who didn't ask the questions. Just a man with a room key and a week's worth of clothes in a bag. I laid the photos out on the bed, one by one. Not to hurt myself, but to ground myself. To remind myself I hadn't imagined it. That she had gone. That he was real. That I did see her laugh in a way she hadn't in years. Not with me. Not since before everything started changing. I tried. I want to say that clearly now, more than anything. I tried. The little surprises. The planned weekends. The dinners, even when she said she wasn't hungry. The talks, God, the talks. I'd ask if we were okay, and she'd brush it off like a speck on her shirt. We're fine, she'd say, barely looking up from her phone. You overthink things too much. But the worst thing she ever did wasn't the cheating. It was making me believe I was crazy for noticing the change. That hollow version of her had been with me for a while. Looking back, I think I started grieving her before she ever physically left. The way she'd laugh just a second too long at texts she wouldn't let me see. The new lingerie tags I found in the trash, even though she hadn't touched me in weeks. The way she'd tilt her head when I asked if she was happy, like the question itself was an inconvenience. In Denver, I made a list. I sat with a legal pad on my lap and wrote down every moment I'd ignored, every whisper I'd dismissed, every instinct I'd silenced in the name of trust. The late-night work, calls, with no sound coming from the office. The gym membership she got, but never used. The sudden urge to change her hairstyle, her perfume, her wardrobe. The way she flinched when I reached for her phone. The way she rolled her eyes when I said, I love you. It wasn't just that she changed. It was how she punished me for noticing. I wasn't innocent, either. I worked too much. I thought providing was enough. That if the bills were paid, if the roof held, if the vacations were planned, then love would sustain itself. But love doesn't work like that. It needs to be watered, spoken to, seen. And maybe I stopped seeing her. Or maybe she stopped letting herself be seen. I don't know when it stopped being us. That's what haunts me most. Not the infidelity, but the quiet, invisible shift from partnership to pretense. We were a house with the lights still on, but no one home. On my third night in Denver, I got a text. It was her. Where are you? That was it. No panic. No apology. Just a question like she'd lost track of her keys, not her husband. I stared at it for a long time. I didn't respond. The next morning, another message. I'm worried. Please just let me know you're okay. Funny how quick concern shows up when absence makes you harder to replace. I went for a walk instead. Up through Cheeseman Park, jacket zipped to my chin, headphones on, but no music playing. Just needed the world muffled. Needed to hear my own thoughts echoing inside the quiet. That's when I realized I wasn't running. I was reclaiming. Reclaiming the hours I spent wondering. Reclaiming the trust one gave too freely. Reclaiming my own narrative from the man who lay in bed pretending to sleep, just so he wouldn't have to face what he already knew. I wasn't going back, and I wasn't going to warn her. I was going to do exactly what she never expected, rebuild without her. But not with anger, with clarity. And that was going to be my revenge. The last time I saw her face was through a window. Not in person, not directly. It was a photo, one I wasn't supposed to see, sent by a mutual friend who didn't know I was gone. She was sitting at a cafe back in town, half smile on her lips, coffee untouched, staring down at her phone like she was waiting for someone who wasn't coming. I stared at that image for a long time. It didn't hurt like I expected. It just clarified something I hadn't been able to admit until then. She was still trying to figure out where I went, but she never once asked why. 2 weeks had passed since I left. In that time, she called 19 times, sent 9 texts, left 1 voicemail. That voicemail, I'll never forget the sound of her voice. Not because of what she said, but how normal she sounded. Hey, I don't know what's going on. You didn't say anything, and I'm scared. Can you please just call me back? No tremble, no breakdown, just fear of disruption. I didn't call her back. I didn't need to. Instead, I spent the following days closing every door behind me, quietly, methodically. I had a new address, a new job lined up. I'd already started the process of transferring my accounts, canceling joint memberships, removing myself from shared bills. I even called the leasing company about the car she drove, technically in my name, and arranged for it to be reclaimed. Gently, legally, I'd left no mess behind. I wasn't the type to slash tires or set fire to memories. I simply vanished from her script. But I kept one last thread. Just one. The photos. The ones I took that night outside apartment 4C. I hadn't used them, hadn't posted them, hadn't sent them to friends or blasted them across divorce court. But they sat in a folder on a USB drive, tucked inside a safety deposit box under my new name. Not as blackmail, not as leverage, just as truth. Something to hold on to on the days I might convince myself it wasn't that bad. Because it was that bad. Not the affair, that was just the symptom. It was the lies, the distance, the subtle erosion of a bond one once thought unbreakable. I didn't hate her. That's the strangest part. Even now, if you asked me, I wouldn't call her evil. I wouldn't call her a monster. She was just someone who got tired of being in love and didn't know how to leave kindly. And I was the man who stayed too long, hoping the person I married would come back. But sometimes, love dies in silence. Not in shouting matches. Not in slammed doors. Just in late-night footsteps. In soft goodnights that don't land. In eyes that look past you when they swear they're still here. The hotel room in Denver became a cocoon. Quiet. Clean. Simple. I journaled every day. I started each morning with black coffee and a walk. No questions. No pretending. No lies. Just breath. And then, on the last day of the month, I mailed a letter. No return address. No venom. Just the truth. It was 5 sentences long. I know where you go at night. I've seen who you meet. I don't need apologies, and I won't offer any more of myself. This is not revenge, it's release. Please don't try to find me. Let this be the end. I imagined her reading it. Sitting at the kitchen table where I used to read the paper, her hand wrapped around her coffee mug like it could warm her back into comfort. I imagined the sting behind her eyes, not from betrayal, but from not being in control. She liked having the last word. But this time, I gave it to myself. 3 days later, I got a final email. Subject line: you didn't even say goodbye. I didn't open it. I deleted it without reading the rest. Not out of coldness, but because I didn't need to explain myself to the version of her who waited until after the damage to ask the right questions. Some stories don't end with closure. Some just end. And mine ended not with a confrontation, not with tears or screaming, but with quiet footsteps, a one-way ticket, and the sound of a front door closing behind me as I walked into a life that, for the first time in years, was only mine. Let her wonder. Let her scroll through her call log. Let her sit at a table set for 2. I don't need to be missed. I just needed to be free.